All right, so let's get the ball rolling with our agenda for this evening. So to start off, we will do an overview of what a timeline of success during the recruitment area will look like from start to finish. This can help you become more prepared and help provide more organization for those upcoming events and reach out. So looking within the timeline itself, we'll first look at what actions can you take now before recruitment starts that will provide a more smoother transition into your planning period. Basically, what should be considered before recruitment even starts. Followed by that, we'll go over some effective strategies you could use during the planning period and ways you can build a bigger audience just from planning ahead. After that, we will then talk about the after, such as what are the next steps you should take after recruitment has ended and what can you improve on for the next recruitment that's to come. Finally, we'll end the night with some resources on how we can, what we have to offer you and how we can best assist you, and then end the night with a lovely Q&A. And if you at any time you feel like you have any questions, concerns, or clarifications, please feel free to raise your hand at any point, and we'll help you to stop. But we do have a Q&A at the end that will help you have those questions at the end, okay? But feel free to stop anytime, raise your hand, anything like that, okay? Or just unmute and speak out, okay? All right, starting off with our timeline of success. So we'll be going over tasks or implementations that could be done, that should be done pre and post recruitment. Starting off with our lovely, what can I do now? So basically, sorry, what to do in advance. So basically, what can I do in advance that will make prepping for recruitment less stressful and easier for you as the recruits? We'll start from the top. In order to have recruitment, you'll need to have people to recruit. So if people don't know who you are or what you represent, they most likely won't show up, basically, especially if you're trying to make connection with them beforehand. So this leads to the importance of establishing connections and building your network beforehand. So establishing connections. Now that we aren't doing smoke signals anymore, thankfully, there are a number of platforms and resources that you can use to reach out to potential recruits. So starting with social media, there's Instagram, Snapchat, LinkedIn, Facebook, and so many more that can be used to make those broad connections and engage your potential recruits. So posting your flyers, events, and brothers in a positive light can really grow your audience and build their awareness about you. And make sure that you're using like hashtags or your handles that when posting, it could help capture more attention to people that are related to you in social media aspect. But aside from just posting, social media also gives you a more one-on-one conversation with other people that you think might be interested. So if you notice somebody engaging continuously with your posts, like liking your recruitment posts or liking your senior stories and stuff like that, don't be afraid to slide in their DMs and be like, make that more personal connection and see where their mindset's at. And if they're showing interest in joining, take that next step and invite them to coffee or something to help build that rapport. That's really good for social media and like getting that connection and then meeting in person. But another good way of digital connection is also having a website. So while a website can also help reach a larger audience, it can also provide people with more information about who you are as a person and for your chapter. It's more customizable because it showcases everything that is great about your chapter and gives people a lasting impression when they look you up. So while making a website seems scarier than creating a social media account, trust that there are tons of platforms out there that can make creating a website way easier, such as Weebly, Wix, Yola, Squarespace. I'm a big Weebly fan, so I took that one to heart. So overall, on a virtual standpoint, just make sure that you are always updating both of them at the same time as well with their information, so that you are creating a significant digital footprint and people can start noticing you from how much you're representing yourself on social media. Overall, just remember that on a virtual standpoint, social media really plays a part in promoting you when you can't do that in person. But straying away from virtual connections, there are also ways that you connect with people physically and get your name out there. Starting with student activities within the fraternity and sorority life. Not only are there staff there that can help build that bridge between you potentials, they've probably seen a ton of recruitments on their end and can give you some pointers on what's most effective in terms of gaining an audience on campus in relation to your institution. For the School of Business and your faculty advisor, they are also good resources because they have the insight into the demographic that you want to recruit. And then finally, look at people who partake in similar clubs or organizations as you do. If you have a marketing or accounting club or on campus, don't be afraid to follow them on social media or come by one of their meetings at the start of the semester and try building a relationship with them. You can even collaborate with them. If you both can bring an audience that will both fit your demographic, then it's worth discussing a collaborative event with. But overall, establishing connection is so important before going into recruitment period because you are getting your message out ahead of time and getting those interests while also expanding your network. Because like we said before, recruitment isn't just a week. Recruitment is a 24/7 thing that starts as soon as you put those letters on. And because you are representing not only yourself, but something bigger, that's signify. Yeah. So, so the more you represent your chapter well, the more people will take interest in you and make that recruitment process preparation much easier for you in the long run. So looking ahead, now that you are aware of how to establish some connections, it's also a good time to start planning schedule-wise on what recruitment would look like for the semester. So for starters, make sure that you're getting those spots at those institution events, such as your activity affairs or your involvement fairs, or even your recruitment workshops, or just any big event that you can sign up for that allows you to meet people and get your name out there. So next is looking at those agendas and make sure everything is planned and communicated. Notify your brothers within the chapter of those important dates so they can plan accordingly and attend, especially those potential big brothers. That being there and meeting those potentials is very essential to like making those good pairings and stuff. Along with that, making sure that your rooms are reserved, and if your institution requires it, making sure that your events are approved ahead of time, because nothing sucks more than having a great idea already and you can't even do it. So finally, make sure that you have your marketing materials prepared. Are your flyers made? Has they been approved for posting? And where do you plan to post them? Are your business cards ready? Do you have all the display cases and bulletin boards updated with your chapter's information and contact? And if you haven't done so already, look and see how those recruitment shirts are coming along, or look at what the process is like to get those. I, for one, love a good recruitment shirt. It's like one of my souvenirs I always take for recruitment periods. But so it may seem like a lot to prepare beforehand, but just remember that this can make things run smoother once you actually start the planning period for recruitment. So prepping for recruitment.
Awesome. Thank you, Alicia. Yes, let's go straight into prepping for the recruitment period. All right, marketing your chapter is going to be very important. Marketing and ensuring that you're showcasing what you are providing during the recruitment process. Tabling on campus, yes, it is one of the easiest ways to see the letters, understand what the letters are, but also ensuring that people know what Delta Sigma Pi is. If you see just a group of students outside the student union, you might not really correlate it with the business organization. So ensuring it says business fraternity, co-ed organization, being able to provide merch, having something at your table that draws the attention of students. You will see on this slide, we have two examples. One of the table with a laptop or somewhere where students are able to write down their information, such as their name, phone number, email address, availability, things like that, where you're able to then connect with them. It's also important to ensure that this information is shared across your whole recruitment team, including your SVP, your VPPE, and the rest of the committee if you have them. Speaking in classes, also a great opportunity. If you do have, those t-shirts or letters, wear those to class. And kind of what Leisha was saying earlier, when you create those connections with your faculty, if you have faculty initiates, you're able to reach out to them and ask them, are three brothers able to come to your classroom 5 minutes before the class begins and give a quick presentation or a quick invitation to your event? It could be as easy as that. It doesn't have to be a whole presentation, but if they do allow you to give a quick synopsis of what Delta Sigma Pi is, take advantage of that. But if you say, we are here, this is what Delta Sigma Pi is, we have an event tonight and the rest of the week, have the time to do that. Now, when we are talking about speaking in classes, again, what Talisha said earlier, during your recruitment workshop, provide that information to the entire chapter so that any brother is able to give that presentation, that any brother is able to present on Delta Sigma Pi, on the events, and is able to answer what time, what location, what is the dress code, will, there be all the questions that you probably had when you were going through the recruitment process as well. With the fraternity and sorority life and student activities, they have events where you're able to, again, share information about Delta Sigma Pi, collaborate. They have so many resources that they want our chapters to take advantage of. And if you don't know what those resources are, make those connections, ask the questions, ask if they're able to send out a mass email, ask if they're able to provide some funding for any events that you all have. Different institutions have different regulations. So if you're able to ask those things, ask them. Over the last couple of years, there has been that kind of loss of connection. Recreate that connection so that you're able to continue to provide the service to your chapter. We have the career services. We talked about how they're able to connect you with a professional. Your chapter most likely has connections with professionals across the board that have been a part of your chapter or are living in your area. And kind of the same with fraternity and sorority life, School of Business, College of Business. They can send out a mass email to every single student in the business program. Whatever the size of your institution, imagine every single person receiving an email with your recruitment schedule. Or if you're able to provide a quick snippet of your flyer and it be posted on your social media of the School of Business across the rotating projectors or the screens all across campus. And you could do that at any time, not just during recruitment. If you have a large professional event, a large community service event, make sure that those events are also being broadcasted, shared. The bigger impact that we're able to make, the more people remember Delta Sigma Pi and whatever event that you have on your campus. And then social media posting. We can't stress this enough. You all know where the students you're trying to reach are at. So ensuring that you're providing that platform, whether it is Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, whatever works for you all, utilizing social media to your advantage is a great opportunity to market your chapter. As you begin to post, follow different pages, again, making the connections with others and making that work to your advantage. All right, so a couple questions to ask yourself as you are recruiting. I know we talked about the audience. So where can we find our target audience? If we're reaching out to first-year students, is there space on campus, whether it is a residence hall that is, for example, a living learning community, where X amount of business students are there looking for things to do? Can you collaborate with a resident assistant in that business department and say, hey, like, we are hosting a recruitment event. Would you all like to work with one another? It could be a community service event. It could be a social event. Finding that audience, finding the audience within the economics 101, the accounting 201, whatever classes those are, where those students are at, and meeting them there. Are we reaching out to everyone who fits the profile of an ideal member? What is the ideal member? I will refer back to our recruitment workshop. Have that conversation with your chapter. Have the conversation of, we're looking for students, business majors, that are willing to take on an officer role, that are willing to, make the time to be able to present, or do something that your chapter is looking for. And again, what is catching the attention of our students right now? Are we looking to continue to provide, opportunities for professional development, for making the connections on your campus? Whatever that answer may be, have those conversations as a chapter. I think you're able to find out a lot of what your current members are looking for and what you're able to provide. So that goes into our product and service. Do we have set expectations as a chapter that then we do relate to the potential members that we're bringing in? Are we being upfront of our expectations that, all right, recruitment is a little busy, but after that, the entire term is like that. And if you join as a first year student, it's going to be like that for the next 3 years, obviously in a different way. And are we telling the potential members what is required of the pledge program of you have to attend set meetings on this day at this time, in addition to our chapter meetings at set date and set time? We have initiation fees, but after the initiation fees are, paid to the chapter, we do have dues that are collected each term, that are collected by the 30th day or the second week of classes, whatever that expectation is of the chapter. But it's very important that whatever is being set up front, your chapter is also following, and your members are also, holding up that same standard. And then the benefits of Delta Sigma Pi and what you are promising or what you are saying, we do this. We have 20 events, professional events each term, or our members participate in all these community service events, or we attend, we send at least 5 people to our national events, such as LEAD, Grand Chapter Congress. And then next message, the message that you are portraying, everyone has their own story of why they joined Delta Sigma Pi, why they continue to be a part of Delta Sigma Pi. And I think that makes it a little bit more personable. Well, yes, we say, come to our recruitment event. People can really see through of just like, oh yeah, come, rather than let's talk about our experiences and let's talk about, the similarities that we might have and what we could provide to them and what they're able to provide to us, and just having a normal conversation rather than just trying to sell them. And who knows, maybe they join or they have somebody else that they're willing to say, this might not be for me, but I think it might be for my best friend. And like, what do we value? Do we value the scholarship? We value the service I provide, the professionalism, and how are we spreading that message that it's not just during recruitment, it's during the entire year, because we are recruiting the entire year. All right. And then experience, that kind of goes into your experience of what have you done during your time as a Delta Sig, as senior vice presidents, which, can I see hands, senior vice presidents on this call? All right, cool. Cool. What story are you telling that your chapter provides? How are your brothers acting within those events, your recruitment events? If they are assisting you in presenting, or if they are, greeting everyone as they come in. You put yourself in the shoes as a recruit when you first try to join this organization. You probably didn't know anyone, or if you did know someone, you came with someone, but did the chapter members greet you? Did they, after they talked to you, did they introduce you to somebody else? I think that experience shows a lot. And for the most part, we're more eager to be a part of that, or we want to be a part of that. So that's very important as you are thinking about prepping and ensuring that the buddy system is okay. You can have brothers with one another, but also ensure that all the brothers are talking to the recruits, and the recruits get to know almost every single brother, because at the end of the day, we do vote on these members. And if we don't know who they are, it's going to be a little bit difficult. Next, the initiative. What is the follow-up that we do have when we do get to know the recruits during our events? Are we following up? Are we thanking them for attending? This could be a follow-up throughout the entire chapter. Every single person can send an email saying, hey, thank you so much for attending our event. We have this event coming up. I'd love for you to attend. We are meeting outside the business building and then going into the classroom, things like that. Are we intentional with the events and social media so they work in our favor? I know Leisha said, hey, if you send a DM, are we following up? If they have any questions, are we providing them the answers? Are we providing them another opportunity to hopefully attend. If we're sending a mass email and people respond and people attend your events, how are we following up? And again, answering the questions that they might have, or answering the questions that they don't even know that they wanted to know. Technology, do we have a good mix of in-person and online visibility? Obviously, we all love the in-person, but utilizing online events to your advantage is also important. I know earlier we said connecting with professionals across the country. You can have a panel of professionals from the entire country, and then all the students, all of you, all the recruits be in person. You could have some type of, I guess, mixture. And how are we branding ourselves? Social media, what we see on there, if I find you on the website, if I find you on dsp.org, if I look up the university and look up business organizations, will I find Delta Sigma Pi? And will I find the Instagram, LinkedIn, or will I find a broken link because your website's not on there anymore? And if I can't find you, well, I'm going to go look for the next group, and it might not be us. So what does our digital footprint look like? So if you haven't looked at your website in the last year, go ahead and look at it. If there's any, say, of past recruitment, flyers, anything like that, make sure all your links work. If you have any links on your social media, ensure that those work as well. And then lastly, our measurement. How are we keeping track of the connections that we do make when we make the connections? At the end of your recruitment period, if you had 50 people show up for the first event, but only 20 for the second, that next term, you have that list of 30 potential students that were interested. Follow up with them. And as you're preparing for the fall recruitment, already start thinking about the spring recruitment as well. I'll pass it on to Sarah to speak on after the recruitment period.
Wonderful. So yes, after the recruitment period, something to just preface with this is, yes, it does say after the recruitment period. And what we mean by this is when you fully have obtained some pledges and you're currently going through the pledge education program and you're looking towards initiation and the rest of your term. While this may seem like recruitment's done, we did our few weeks of hardcore recruitment and then that's it. What that actually means is recruitment is going to always be rolling. Even after recruitment periods, those 2 or 3 weeks that we're talking to students, tabling and having events, we still want to keep recruiting even throughout the next term and even during the summer, which you are doing now. So again, kind of just prefacing that recruitment is going to be always on a rolling basis. The two things that you can keep in control, even after that recruitment period, maybe you have some pledges or you just had initiation and you may feel like, okay, so now what? One thing you may want to consider doing is making your presence known on campus, or if it's already known, continuing to heighten that presence. Again, all officers should collaborate to make bigger scaled events open to the entire campus. And what we mean by that is, your fundraisers, professional events, community service events, etc. Of course, you can have multiple people chime in on this, work with a different partner or organization on your campus. Again, having that collaboration so that you're helping someone else out too, but also spreading out the name Delta Sigma Pi. You can work with different offices on your campus, like the Multicultural Student Center, your student activities, fraternity, sorority life. Those offices are going to have great resources and tools for different things that they are seeing to be trendy with students on your campus. And from there, you can help plan and execute an event that's going to not only help you gain exposure, but maybe potential recruits in a next following semester. And then also another thing, be on the lookout for a candidate that's going to be a great Delta Sig. Whether you're in those 2 or 3 weeks where you're getting names and starting to get to know people or not, if you know somebody or maybe you meet someone in one of your classes that really has it in them to be a great member of your chapter, definitely don't let them get away too far. Tell them about your organization, share the things that you're doing. If you're partners in class or if you bump into them in the hallway all the time, keep re-engaging them with those conversations and make it worth their while to want to look into it, because more likely than not, they're going to see you having a good time and that's going to rub off onto them and they're going to be having a good time and be like, okay, what is Delta Sigma Pi? How can I get involved in it? Again, some easy things that you can be doing throughout the year. But again, with everything that Leisha and Jasmine has been saying, one big thing is going to be staying consistent and communicating early. Again, if you want to have that bigger scaled event, definitely don't try to do it the week before. It may, it may come to be, but it may not be everything you had hoped it would be. So again, preparation is key, and making sure that everyone knows their responsibility and everyone in the chapter is involved in that process. And then the other thing, plan for the next recruitment. So again, we have here, take feedback from brothers on what worked and what didn't work for recruitment. Some of the best people that you can go to find some of this information is going to be the people that just went through the process of, pledging, getting recruited, and figuring out exactly what this organization means to them and what they hope to bring to it. Right. And now they're fully fledged members and they're now getting their footing started on maybe taking leadership positions or taking a chair role, or seeing, how they can best be, a good brother in standing. So again, ask those people for feedback and have them be some that help towards the next recruitment, because it's going to be fresh in their minds. They're going to know exactly what attracted them to the organization. So it's going to best help your group in making sure that you have the best fighting chance against all other organizations in getting quality candidates. Part of this preparation is also going to be using your resources, because again, it's not just you all, and it shouldn't have to be. This responsibility doesn't fall solely on the VPPE and the senior vice president only. Again, everyone has classes, everyone has connections on your campus. Feel free to use those, whether it's reaching out to a few of your faculty initiates or maybe a really good professor you had in class, seeing if they would recommend somebody, or seeing if they would like to contribute towards the next recruitment, maybe speaking at one of your events or providing an endorsement or an opportunity to speak at a classroom event. All these things take time and preparation. So look at those things ahead of time and give yourself, the best shot towards next recruitment. So then continuing on, here are some of the recruiting resources that we currently right now have on the DSP website. So at the bottom there, you can see all of these are accessible on dsp.org/SVP, so senior VP. So a couple of these things to highlight are recruiting guides, recruitment ideas, best practices guides, different talking points during recruitment, marketing and communication templates, and recruitment schedules and calendar examples. All of these are going to factor into how well you recruit as a chapter. I know Leisha and Jasmine both iterated it quite a bit in their portions, that your presence is going to be super important, not just what you do at a table or how you conduct yourself as a person, but what that digital footprint is looking like, and who do we know, and what our connections look like. Are we constantly trying to partner with different types of organizations, or be the first to volunteer at Move In or other events happening on campus? Like, do we do well in our classes? Are we usually the above and beyond student? All those types of things factor into our image as a member of this organization. So some things to keep in mind there, and some things to also check out on our website. So just kind of blowing up a couple of these. So this, the one on the left is going to be our communication templates. So again, we totally understand that writing that email to a potential recruit and a potential pledge is really hard, because again, you want to keep them engaged. You want to give them a reason to want to join the organization. So, giving them that why factor. So again, a couple of things to pick apart from this template. Number one, make it your own. This is just a starting tool to get, all the juices flowing and to give your chapter a good chance to make it your own and make sure you're staying in communications with potential pledges. Some things highlighted there are going to be, first names. I know it's so easy to just gather a bunch of information from people that you meet during your recruitment time, either emails, their phone numbers, whatever you all collect, and just, put them all in one email and send one giant mass email to those individuals, inviting them maybe to your next recruitment event, inviting them to pledge, whatever the case may be. But I highly, highly encourage you all to take the extra steps to personalize those emails to people, especially if there's a little bit of a gap between them becoming pledges and attending pledging ceremony and when you are sending this email. So again, this template kind of goes over that a little bit more, what you should be including, different parts that are really important, like the names of events, the dates, where the location is, and what the description is. And more importantly, why is it going to be valuable that they take some time out of their week to go to it? Again, you can just send an invitation saying, come to meet the brothers, and then provide no context. And then, I'm there. I don't know if I want to go to meet the bros because, again, I don't know what that is. That makes me uncomfortable. I'm still kind of on the fence about this organization. I'm just going to skip out. But if you go ahead and you provide a really solid explanation and be excited about it, that's going to make me, as a potential recruit, want to feel more excited about going to your event and continuing to give more time and attention to you all. So again, check that out. And then here on the right, we have our recruit follow-up timeline. So again, this is going to be different for every single chapter. So if you are looking at this and your chapter does something a little bit different, don't worry about it. But again, some things we want to highlight on here, recruit, show interest, send the thank you, invite email. Again, some of those very particular things that are going to make a lasting impression to a potential recruit, especially if they're considering joining different clubs and organizations. Making yourself stand out and sending that thank you and showing continual interest is going to be super important in retaining them as a member. Sending reminder emails to things that you have coming up, maybe events that you're holding as a chapter. Something, that's a really good best practice is considering all the different types of events that you do as a chapter, not just the professional ones, but the social ones, the service ones, the fundraisers. From those reminder emails and from all those communications, a potential member should see all the different sides of your chapter and what it has to offer them, not just on the professional side, but in every other aspect. So make sure you are being strategic and keep those things in mind as you're sending these reminders and as you're planning these events. Again, something to also be timely about is inviting recruits to the pledging ceremony. If you want to continue with someone and have them pledge, please be timely about that. Do not send an email the night before pledging ceremony and expect a good turnaround, right? There's a lot of things that need to go into that, and just, a common decency of, okay, if I'm going to be a part of this organization, let's be punctual and make sure that we're all on the same page. If there's something they need to do beforehand, which for some of you in here, that they need to submit in the hub and everything. So, that takes time and it's a process. So give them a good chance to get all that information inputted prior to the pledging ceremony. And then again, your pledging ceremony and Big Brother introductions and meeting one. So again, being very clear and concise with those who were extending, to be pledges. This is exactly what we're going to be doing. And this is when we expect to have this meeting and initiation. This is what the pledge education program is going to look like. Something to really mention about recruiting is that nothing in our pledge education program is secret information. Please share it with people who may feel hesitant or don't know what all it entails to pledge Delta Sigma Pi. Again, share the expectation of completing modules. If there's, the financial aspect of things, the time aspect, that's just going to help you all have a better retention of those pledges so that they make it across the finish line and that they make it to initiation and are able to be good quality members because they know exactly what they're getting into. So again, look at this timeline and really evaluate as a chapter now during the summer before recruitment starts, what's going to be best for you all and how can you ensure a good solid communication plan to those who are interested. Couple more resources here. So again, this is one of the examples of a recruitment flyer, just kind of detailing different recruitment events, as well as things that are happening. As you can see, very big and bold, eye-catching, complete information of date, time, location, what that attire is looking like, something that Jasmine had touched on earlier. And more importantly, the contact information so they can reach you and you can reach them. Something you should be doing as a best practice is collecting their information. As even a simple school email address will do, just so that you can stay in constant communication with those individuals, in the likelihood that if they don't decide that this semester is their semester to pledge Delta Sigma Pi, who's to say the spring or the next year isn't? So definitely don't burn any bridges and continue those communications, because you don't know, it could just be the wrong time and you may still have a really good brother to be on your hands that will come around and pledge again. And then to the right, we do have a recruitment calendar. Again, just prefacing with all these examples, by no means do you have to hit copy and paste with your chapter, but this is simply just giving you all a good general idea of, what a calendar could look like. So again, if it takes something like this, like plotting it out on, a Word document or on an Excel spreadsheet, just to get an understanding and present to the chapter, this is our plan, these are our ideas, so that, if maybe one particular portion of the week looks a little heavy and maybe you need to spread out your week differently, you can do that ahead of time and not feel scrambled and down to the wire on your planning. So feel free to check all these out. These are going to be at that recruiting resources page that I had mentioned earlier. Yeah, wonderful. So that does conclude our presentation. First and foremost, we do want to thank you for listening to us and hearing about different recommendations we have for recruitment. I know it can be a little scary, but we're going to get through it together. And with that all being said, if we didn't cover something that you wanted to talk about, this is a great time to ask us some questions on anything you heard today or didn't hear. So we're going to open the floor up to you all for any questions.
I have
Please
a
also,
question.
oh, go ahead, Seth.
At TCU, we usually have around 80 to 100 people who are really interested in joining. How would you say probably not do the personalized emails, or like how would you do more mass things when you have a larger interest at a school?
I'm going to go and take this one. So Seth, that's a great question. And I know visiting some of those larger chapters, I don't know how you all do it. I feel like I'd be so overwhelmed constantly on just the mass of interest and people coming in and out of the chapter. So I totally understand where you're coming from there. I would recommend that, have someone oversee that process. I don't know if your chapter does like a marketing chair or a communications chair, like something along those lines, but maybe get a group of brothers together to segment out and to all like contribute towards sending those emails out. Again, kind of something I said earlier, definitely don't feel like you are you the senior VP? I guess I should ask that first.
Yes, I am.
Oh, okay, cool. So don't feel like you as the senior vice president has to send out 80 emails, right? That's crazy and totally not necessary. Having a few brothers in charge of that, maybe have the VPPE take some of them, and maybe having a whole committee just designed to following up with those communications during recruitment, because that's going to be really important in the long run for the chapter. So maybe something you all want to try investing in.
Thank you.
Also, feel free to utilize platforms that can send out mass emails for you or mass texts where it says, thank you for attending this event. Don't forget to join our next event. Like, utilize those platforms that you have available. But yeah, I'll read the next question. So when you say ask professors to be guest speakers, do they have to be DSP members? The professors, or maybe I'm reading that wrong. Oh, do the students? Yes. Oh, no, the professors do not have to be members. You can ask any professor. You can ask your dean of your business school to present on what they're working on, what they're passionate about. That could be a good opportunity that your vice president professional activity works with your SVP. And you can't submit those events for CMP credit. You have to, given the plug of CMP. So any events that you do host, yes, they're recruitment events, but get credit for CMP because you're doing these events.
Hi, so we have another question saying, do you have any advice for recruiting with a tight budget? Ooh, money is tight. I'll say that. So yeah, I do have a couple of advice I can give you for that. For one, utilize, like I said before, those institution events, those free events that you have on hand with you already, like those involvement fairs, activity fairs, like anything that they can provide you, like that you can use to your best benefit and stuff like that. But also social media and like all stuff that's already free to you, like stuff that you already use to make a connection that people use every day and stuff like that. Don't think you're the big ball budget, young money kind of thing, and like, go all out with like all the supplies. Like as long as you're making it, representing the chapter well, making a good connection with everybody, that is good enough recruiting right there. And if you're trying to, get your name out there, there's also a thing called classroom visits, like where you can like reach out to professors and say, hey, can I like 5 minutes of your time before class to like just do a professional speaking about DSP and our recruitment coming up? Like that right there's like already a big group right there, business students ready to listen and probably ready to like learn more about the organization. So just use like the stuff you already have on hand, and like if you have money for more, just add on to that later. But the basis is just like the connection, and making those connections is really important.
I definitely will add on to that real quick. I think, it can be sometimes really challenging with the tight budget, or if you're a smaller chapter, to feel like you can make an impact on campus. A really good recommendation is to just be personal. Think about the things that we can control, right? How we act towards someone and how we make them feel. Whether we're recruiting them or not, is going to leave a lasting impression. Of course, if you come into it like a sales pitch, it may not necessarily stick to someone that well, but again, having a conversation with them, seeing them out, like, and maybe even bringing yourself back to when you were joining this organization and why you did, see that in them and kind of share your story with them and give them that opportunity to share, well, what attracted you to this in the first place? Let's have that conversation. Oh, you wanted to make friends? Yeah, I did too. And guess what? I joined this organization and now I don't, not see someone in the hallway. It changed my life, and, and share that with them. Again, that's something that doesn't cost anything. In addition to that too, using those different resources that are going to be at your business school or your student activities. I know usually those offices get a budget to put on events, whether at the beginning of the year, during midterms, at the end of the year for students. So if you can use an event that's already happening to your advantage, you should do that. Absolutely. But yeah. Myra, your hand's been up for a bit. I do want to let you ask your question here.
Thank you. My question was in regards to planning before the recruitment week, and I wanted to know how many events would you recommend we host before recruitment week?
I can start off on this. I'm sure Jasmine and Leisha will have other thoughts too, but ultimately it's going to be very detail oriented to your chapter. When you plan on starting recruitment week, if it's that first week in August, or if it's going to be later in September or whenever, right? That's going to make a big difference. I would say that if you have a few weeks between that, between the start of school and recruitment period, start having events. Again, that's free advertising. If you're doing a service event on campus, if you're having a professional speaker, treat it as if it was a recruitment event, and still open it up to campus, have it be widespread. Oftentimes you may be able to do some of the work ahead of time without calling it a designated recruitment event, right? And having intentional events that are going to be larger so that more people feel interested in coming to them might be very helpful. Like I know one thing, I've seen a chapter do before is taking an interest in what their top 3 business majors are. If it's marketing, accounting, finance, whatever it is, and finding and seeking different individuals to do a professional event from those majors so that if someone hears the word marketing or accounting, their ears perk up a little bit and they're like, oh, I'm in that. Like, I want to network and meet an individual in my future field. So that's a good way to start off. But of course, that can be translated over to any type of event you have, a service event, or even a fundraiser. Jasmine, Leisha, anything on that one?
Yeah, I'll also add within our templates, I know sometimes it says it has 3 events, 5 events. Don't feel the expectation that you have to have a specific amount. A large thing is the capacity of yourself and the rest of your chapter. We don't want to burn out our potential members and our current members because everyone's going through and dealing with a lot with classes, work, DSP, there are other clubs and organizations. So we do say, like, utilize the events that are being held. If 2 organizations are working together for one commonality, I've seen meet the chapters events where all the organizations, including like the business fraternities, the other co-ed organizations, the like Beta Alpha Psi, if you have that on your campus, you have a open event where your members probably are in other organizations as well, 2 birds, 1 stone kind of thing. So that would be another one of our recommendations. And I do see the next question, how long would we recommend recruitment process to last? It's up to you. You can have a 2-week process. You can have a month-long process. I would also recommend if you have specific campus regulations that recruitment must be X amount of days long, or your invitations to pledge must be sent out by X date. Be aware of those, because we do know that some campuses have those expectations that we don't know of all of them. So it's up to you all if you want to begin obviously now and sending out, those mass emails. Hey, Delta Sigma Pi is going to have an open chapter meeting. Like, come join us to our chapter meeting on this day. You can have that now, and then your last recruitment event be in a month. So we don't necessarily have a set date that it has to last, but it must be prior to your pledging ceremony. So you all have already submitted your pledge program dates, and those are on the hub. So let me throw this out here, that if your dates, hey, we submitted that in June, we've talked through our recruitment process. Yeah, that's not going to work for us. Send us an email. Send us, we have our personal emails on here, consultants@dsp.org. We all receive that, or hub@dsp.org. We try to get to your emails as soon as possible, and we're able to work with you to ensure that you have an approved program by the beginning of your program. So, Adam.
Are there any videos for recruitment that you would recommend using, either from central office or other chapters that are kind of generic across the board?
Yes. So you can find on YouTube and other platforms different recruitment videos used from other chapters. Matter of fact, I just did it. That's crazy you mentioned that. So we do have a couple that are based nationally, like our national video for the year. So I know there was like a 2021 one, there was a 2021, like there's a bunch of different years that you can pick from and choose from and just put it on a loop on YouTube. Or if you wanted to see what other chapters are doing, I have seen a ton of them, all different themes, songs, it's incredible the creativity we have in the organization, because I was sitting and watching them. So again, they're definitely out there, but have them be maybe some inspiration to make one of your own too. Again, like, that takes planning and commitment from other members and whatnot, but maybe that will spark an idea within your chapter to want to put on a recruitment event like that. But I would highly suggest looking at YouTube. But if you want to connect with us after this, I'd be happy to send you some good references as well.
Yeah, going off that, like from my recruitment days, this one video that I saw was the Golden Purple remix audio. So like So like, but yes, using those like this kind of YouTube videos and like showing like not the humor side, but like the enjoyment of being in the fraternity and stuff like that are also really good points to use and stuff like that. Yeah, YouTube is also really good, but also like, Dawson has an Instagram account you can use and stuff like that. Feel free to share Instagram account with those and, share a name like that.
Thank you, Tyler, for linking the national recruitment video. So go check it out. Any other questions that we might have not answered at any point?